Well, you know who actually likes those sets?
Who?
Jeff Bezos.
What?
Wait, what?
Honey, where are my pants?
Studs! Hello and welcome to the Where Are My Studs podcast.
You already need to start over?
Hold on, I forgot what our intro was. Hello and welcome to the Where Are My Studs podcast. Today we are joined by a guest. Aidan, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm not the guest.
You should be. I don't want to host the podcast with you anymore. Hello, Josh. That's our guest.
Hey, it's JB,
Brick Fanatic?
Brick Fanatic here.
I don't know if I've told you this, Josh. I was such a fanboy of your channel back in like 2019. Bro, I promise I'm telling the truth with this. Like I watched a video where you like climbed onto your roof or something and like threw a Lego set off it.
Yeah, I threw the BB-8 Star Wars set off.
Anyways, this is JB Brick Fanatic, or Josh, a Lego designer Josh, Lego set designer Josh specifically.
Yep. Hey everyone, how's it going?
So, Josh, if you could tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, if they haven't heard of you before from your hit Legos Don't Broke Like That video.
Yeah, of course. Hey, so I'm Josh. I am a Lego fan, a retired Lego YouTuber. I'm on Instagram. I'm trying to get hired by Lego as a designer. I'm the fan designer for the BTS Ideas set. I did another one for the Pick a Brick program. I'm just kind of here, just kind of hanging out. I'm 23 and living and loving life.
That is a lovely introduction, Josh. Thank you. So, for today's episode, we're going to go ahead and talk about our top 5 Lego themes, which you know if you just read the podcast title. But we're including licensed and original themes in this, and basically how it's going to work is Josh will start first since he's the guest of the episode. But we're going to go 5 through 1, each take turns, Josh will read his 5, Brendan will read his 5, and then I'll read my 5. And then we'll figure out who has the best list towards the end, which of course we'll all think is our own. So, Josh, if you want to go ahead and get us started with your number 5 favorite Lego theme of all time.
Dang. Okay, so first off, I'm gonna give some honorable mentions.
Ooh, good idea.
Because there's some themes that are so broad that it's really hard to pinpoint. So like Lego City, obviously I love Lego City, phenomenal. The Lego trains, because I know there's you can find trains in old 9 volt, but also the new icons theme. So I would say city and trains are kind of like the broad scope that I can't really. I would say don't really count for this list. Those are my honorable mentions. Man, I think number 5. I'm actually gonna go agents.
Great theme.
That's crazy.
Why? Why is that crazy?
It's not actually. Agents was like the closest as a kid I got to getting into a Lego original theme.
What I think is interesting about Agents is it's one of the few original themes that we saw in the later 2000s that Lego never really tried to replace with a licensed themed. Like the only thing we ever really saw was Mission Impossible, and in the Dimensions pack, and then the James Bond cars that have come out. But I really like Agents. But what do you think of its because I'm assuming Ultra Agents is not on any of our lists. So what do you think of its spiritual successor in Ultra Agents?
I think it's really hard to say because Agents is the one that has like the childhood nostalgia factor. Like Ultra Agents isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. I just think it loses. I think it loses like the charm of laser sharks and stuff like that.
Laser Sharks. I forgot about that. That's a great set with isn't that the one with like the boat and the zip line and
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's a killer set.
Yep.
Josh, do you own any of the Agent sets?
Nope.
Hey, you could still love a
I
theme
think I'm trying to think of yeah, I'm trying to think of it if as a kid I had any. Um, but yeah, I think I'm trying to look and see which one. I think Mission 5, the one that had the turbo car, it was like the first real set that had a bunch of the like metallic silver pieces in it. Like the mud guards were silver, all the slopes were silver on it. And seeing that in the Lego magazine was insane for me. I wanted that set so badly.
Oh yeah, as like a pre-adolescent boy, like all of the Asian sets just looked so cool, like back then, and they
Oh,
still hold up
100%.
today, I'd say.
I mean, Agents was cool. Shout out to Lego for allowing guns into a Lego original theme. That's something they definitely wouldn't do anymore because
That's
they're a
true.
bunch of cowards. Anyways, my honorable mentions. I can only honestly think of one, maybe two honorable mentions. Is going to be Kingdoms from 2009 slash Castle 2007, but I love both of those, and Pirates from 2009. That's a great line of sets. But my number 5 spot is going to have to go to Adventurers, the Indiana Jones before Indiana Jones. This theme is one that I didn't have any attachment to before 2024, and I have gone head over heels for it. It's a great theme. It captures a lot of what I love in any property, which is that adventure aspect of it, kind of like an Uncharted feel. But it has that mixture of late 90s, early 2000s Lego aesthetic, features, play, and just fun that modern Lego doesn't really have. Johnny Thunder is such a killer main character. I mean, like, what kid doesn't want to play with a character named Johnny Thunder? So that's Adventures number 5.
Yeah, I really like Adventures. It was my 6. It was the one that barely didn't make it on for me. But I think like also I don't own any of the sets, which for me like I need to actually experience a theme. I mean, my 5th one I actually don't own any of the sets too. But like to put it any higher than 5, I would need to actually own the sets. But the sets look like they would be so much fun, and I think I just really like old 90s, early 2000s Lego, and I think Johnny Thunder is like the best example of how good that style can look in sets and still like be a really well functioning play set.
100%. It's such a good theme. I more specifically, my favorite sub theme of Adventurers is Orient Expedition. I think that's the best lineup. I don't. Do you know about the different like sub themes of Adventurers?
Yes, I've the RR Slugger videos is the main reason I know.
Oh,
But yeah.
I gotcha. Well, then yeah.
The Orient Adventure sets, like I mean, the Scorpion Palace and the Mount Everest Temple, they're just so unique, having that Asian kind of aesthetic about it that I mean I think it's fantastic that the Adventures theme kind of encompasses the whole the whole Earth as a spectrum. You got like the desert with Egypt and stuff, and then the fantasy kind of Amazonian jungles, and then even the Dino Island. I think it's fantastic.
No.
And actually, I don't want to go too far ahead, but my number 4 is pretty similar to this.
Well, you were up next, so I guess that works.
Well, I haven't given my 5, Brendan. Come on. Trying to skip me already?
Oh.
Wow, I see
Oh,
how
all
it is.
right, all right.
So
Go ahead, Aidan. What's your number 5? What is the 5th best Lego theme of all time?
So this is going to be a highly controversial take, but I have Knights Kingdom 2. So not the one with I think the bull shields. I think was the first Knights Kingdom, but the one of like Jaco and Raskus and like all those named knights. I love that theme. I really didn't know about it much, at all as a kid even. So I didn't get the experience as a kid. I only found out about it even like a year ago. But I think it just has some of the best like play sets I've seen in a long time, and like the whole story and the individuality of the knights is something we really don't tend to see in Castle as much, and I really like that unique take on it. It just looks like such a fun world to be into and a very interesting story. So yeah, I have that at 5.
Just to be clear, wait, which one is Knight's Kingdom 2? Is that the 2009 like?
It's 2005, 2004-ish, I think.
It has like the colorful knights. Like they each have their own faction and theme.
It's the one Cheesy
Oh,
Studios
okay,
did the
okay.
retrospectives on. If that.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm more my favorite. And it's not in my top 5, but I know my favorite castle theme was probably the 2007/8, like goblins and skeletons and all that. I really like that
Oh yeah.
castle.
Well, that's also a great castle theme, and that one I actually do own some sets for. Like I like objectively, like that is better than Knight's Kingdom 2, but there's something that just personally draws me to Knight's Kingdom 2 about the whole like storyline and just what they tried to do with it. I really liked it.
When I was a kid, I know that the Scorpions, like that faction, was my absolute favorite. I had the Big Fig King or whatever Vladik or whatever his name is. I had that Big Fig, and my brother had the Night King one, and we would always battle it out and stuff like that. Those Scorpions, they looked so scary, and I think that's why I liked them so much.
Well, Josh, what's your fourth favorite Lego theme? Because now it's back to you.
All right, well, so just like Brendan, just like you were number 5 with Adventurers. Funny enough, my number 4 is Pharaoh's Quest.
Whoa, really?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
It's a great theme.
Please explain. Please explain.
I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. There's something about you know what it is. It was because I could play the Lego game on Lego.com with like the Scarab attack and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think with the emergence of, online gaming and me being able to log into Lego.com and, it's a safe environment and I can play these really fun games. I loved playing that game. I think I only got like maybe the airplane set, the Flying Mummy set. I know my brother had the Scarab attack set, but there's just something, I don't know. There's something really cool about it, having the pyramid and kind of it was almost like a Johnny Thunder remake.
100%. 100%.
It was trying to reimagine that. It's a bummer that we didn't, get into the other themes like the Orient. We kind of just stuck in the desert with the pharaohs and stuff. But man, I would love for them to remake this theme. I think it's really, really good.
So the reason I never liked Pharaoh's... Okay, no. I don't want to say didn't like Pharaoh's Quest, because I do like Pharaoh's Quest to an extent. I love that it's a spiritual successor to Adventurers, but my biggest issue with it is the fact that it was in the desert. And I just felt like the desert had kind of, especially up until that point, is... Pharaoh's Quest came out in, 2011, 2012, I think, right?
2013 and 2012 is what I thought it was.
Yeah, 11. No, it's just 11.
Because there was only
11.
one wave. Yep.
My issue with it is if they were going to do that, I just wish it wasn't a desert adventurers based theme wave thing. Like, we had Indiana Jones only 2 years prior, which is a huge desert location for a lot of it. And I think it just would have done better, at least for me personally, if they would have made it located elsewhere other than just the desert. Because the desert, at least to me as a kid, was just kind of too barren and like too unimaginative. That's just me personally, though.
That's fair. That's a fair thought.
So I don't really have a problem with that as much, because I think it did go back to the desert just like Indiana Jones, and which was 3 years before this, and Adventurers, which I think the last desert adventure set was released in the 90s. I don't even know if it got to the 2000s, but it did something very different from the other themes, like with the huge scorpion and the big flagship set. Like, that's, we never saw anything like that in either of those. So I think it does stand on its own pretty well from Adventurers. Like, you can look at it and tell it takes heavy inspiration from it. I'm just sad it didn't sell super well. I think there was a plan to have at least one more wave, but it just didn't sell super well. And
Mm-hmm.
another interesting thing is that this theme has the last set to have a raised base plate, which I have a very special place in my heart for raised base plates. So very sad that this was the final theme to have one, but it had some fantastic sets for sure.
That would be such an interesting topic to cover, by the
Mhm.
way, Aidan, is base plates and sets.
Well, 100%.
But my number 4 is, well, he lives in a pineapple under the ocean, and he is a square man, and he has a sea star as a friend. I'm talking about SpongeBob. If you didn't get that, you're a fool. SpongeBob, man, what a weird theme. And like weird in the sense that it's just, I think its origin story is interesting. Nickelodeon Lego team up 2005 is when these meetings must have been happening, and they wanted, to make a show or Lego sets based off one of their shows. Obviously SpongeBob was picked, but also Avatar was picked, and then the Avatar and SpongeBob sets competed. SpongeBob blew them out of the water, and we got the theme. And I objectively know this theme is definitely not like doesn't have the greatest builds, but the amount of nostalgia and love I have for it, it was the first ever Lego theme I had ever gotten into, and I just think the sets they made were so much fun. Most of them didn't even have that many play features or anything. The fun just came from having these locations and making your own stories, which those are some of my favorite Lego sets. Some key sets that are, in my opinion, some of the best are the original Krusty Krab. The Chum Bucket was one of my personal favorites. And actually it's from the very last theme. It was the Party Under the Sea or whatever. It was the final set that came with the SpongeBob's house and Squidward's Tiki Hut. I don't know if any of you guys had any of these sets. Josh, I assume you may have.
Well, the funny thing about that is I wasn't allowed to watch SpongeBob growing up.
No, he was one of those kids.
I was one of those kids. So unfortunately, I didn't have any of the SpongeBob sets. Except, I do remember looking in the catalog and seeing, and y'all are gonna dislike me for this, the Big Fig SpongeBob. I always thought was the funniest thing. It was the funniest thing to see, like the giant eyes printed on the big dish piece and all that. I don't know.
What about you, Aiden?
So I also wasn't allowed to watch SpongeBob growing up.
Oh, who
So
am I doing this
yeah.
podcast with?
Yep. So this isn't exactly your target audience, but I did remember seeing the sets on shelves, and they didn't look all that cool to me now as a kid. And I'm sorry, Brendan, but even now that I'm older, the only one that really look cool is the pineapple. Anyone's with the pineapple house.
Sure.
I still
Sure.
have only watched like one SpongeBob episode, so I don't have like any context for this theme.
Here's the issue with SpongeBob. If you didn't catch it when you were a kid, it's just going to be a really weird show now. Like, I don't think it's funny unless you watched it as a kid and you have that. For reference, I was a massive SpongeBob fan. I freaking love the show. I'd watch it every single day. I still do. I still really like it. Like, I still think a lot of those early episodes are genuinely funny. And the attachment from the show is the entire reason I got into Lego was because of that theme. And that theme made me realize, because as a kid, I was like, oh, it'd be cool to have like little play sets and toys from the show that I love so much. Issue was back then there wasn't any good one line of figures / play sets. And then I turned to Lego and I realized, oh, but all the Lego sets work perfectly together. I don't have to like worry. As long as it says Lego on the box, it'll fit into the world that I build. And it just made my mind fall in love with Lego. I'm like, no matter what, if I get Star Wars or SpongeBob or Indiana Jones or City, they all mesh together. I can make stories with one another. And that like changed my perception on how I wanted to like play with toys as a kid. Not to get too crazy with it. But yeah, SpongeBob's a great theme.
No, 100%. I could see how, as a kid, it kind of introduces the idea of mixing your Lego together. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So, for my number 4, I'll also kick it off with our second licensed theme, which is going to be Lord of the Rings. And I initially did not have this on my top 5, but I started building the Orc Forge set yesterday, and it was just like such a fun build experience. And then I was like looking at all the other sets online, and I think I'd also group the Hobbit sets in with this as well. Like I kind of almost consider them the same theme, in all honesty. But like every single one is a play set, and like play is at the center of it, and it's all about creating a scene. And like they're all just fantastically designed sets, and I think Lord of the Rings minifigures from this era is like as far as I like my Lego minifigures to be detailed for the most part. Like I'm not a huge fan of the super highly detailed modern Lego figures. Like it's just too much to me sometimes. But these are figures that I think find that balance so well. And it's just I mean, it kind of replaced Castle, so there is that. But I think if it's gonna do it, it did it well, and I could see kids and adults just loving this theme and building this theme together.
I I would have put it on my top five. I think if I had more of the sets growing up, my brother had most of them. He had like the Gandalf Arrives and Shelob and the Helm's Deep. I only had Attack on Weathertop, and I don't think I really cared about Lord of the Rings when the sets came out. I mean, I was like 11 years old, so I don't know. It's a fantastic theme, and I would put it on par with a lot of the greats. Um, but it's not. I don't think it's top five for me.
I think objectively, I agree with Josh that that theme is very good. You can't. I don't think anyone can look at those sets and go, "Wow, what a subpar line of Lego sets." Like they're great. But I remember because I was a kid when those came out as well, and I just I wasn't into it. I honestly find it a little surprising. I've never felt like Lord of the Rings was very kid based. Like those movies are kind of like indie, which we talk about a lot on this podcast. Are rather adult based, to be honest. I always felt that way, at least. So I remember as a kid, I thought the sets were cool. I got one of them, and it was fun, but for the most part, like it never sparked my interest. As an adult, I have more interest in that theme than I did as a kid, to be honest.
Well, yeah, like as a kid, the only set I really wanted was the Orc Forge, and I finally got it. And that was because of like the light up brick, and you could like lower everything and stuff like that. So I think the main draw as a kid is like the play features in those sets. But Josh, I'm curious. You talked about like not really being into the theme a lot, but you had like one of the bigger sets in the theme with Attack on Weathertop. So like, what was your experience with that set? Having like not watched the movies and not have context for it.
Well, I think what happened was, my brother's a couple years older than me, so he was into the movies and he was into the sets, when they were out, and I think I just got Weathertop as kind of the, oh well, we'll get his brother one too, not that he asked for it, but just just because it has a horse, cool, like let's get him that one. Um, because I didn't actually, I don't remember enjoying the build or actually sitting down to look at it until years after the theme retired. Like I rebuilt it a couple years after all of that. Once I had seen the Lord of the Rings movies and cried at the end, and really gotten into it. That was when I revisited it, and I was like, oh dang, this set's actually really 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 good. And then I looked back at all the other sets, and I'm like, oh dang it, like these are actually very very good sets that I wish I had gotten them. And I think they had just gotten so expensive, and I didn't really have money then, that I unfortunately wasn't able to get it. I think of the sets, my favorite's either Gandalf Arrives or actually the Council of Elrond, from the second wave. I know, looking at it now, like the Council of Elrond set is a really primitive build, especially being around Empire lug guys. But as a kid, man, like the roof detailing and the orange tree leaves, I was like, man, this is so cool, the color palette. So I think those two sets were like top for me after the fact.
Yeah, 100%. I think those. I find those sets interesting because I can't really think of too many other themes that have gone up in price like Lord of the Rings has, besides maybe Batman 1 and Star Wars.
I think that's. I mean, that has. Yeah, that has to do with just I think the age. I mean, Lord of the Rings is timeless, but you have all the, the basement dwellers who love nerdy stuff, and Lord of the Rings is just part of the roster.
Well, okay. So I guess it goes back around to Josh, right?
No. Yes. Hey, Josh, if you want to go ahead and
Yeah.
do your third. I think we're on third now.
All right. So my number 3 is going to be the Castle Kingdoms line from 2011/2010.
So I actually have this as number 2 on my list. So I'm right on board with you. But I'll let you go ahead and say your little thing, and then we can gush about it together.
Yeah, I think so. Again, as a kid, a lot of these, like my favorite themes, I think has to do with nostalgia, and just remembering as a kid what I got. I remember one of my first sets that I ever bought with my own money, or I was at the store. I got the court jester little set, and then my brother got the wizard set. So there were like a $5 set or whatever with one minifig, and we used to play with the court jester and the wizard. And then I think a little later on I got the blacksmith attack set, and that set's really cool because the water mill actually turned the hammer onto the anvil, and you could actually smith the weapons. And that set came with weapons. It came with like an axe and a bow and arrow and a couple swords and some scepters and things like that. I never got any of the bigger sets, the big castle or the jousting set or the mill with the iconic goat and pig. But seeing them in the catalogs with my 2 small sets allowed my imagination, I think, to thrive. And it's just a great theme. I think it was a good resurrection of castle. It's more of the village side of the castle. It's more of like the mundane things with blacksmith and the mill, stuff like that. But yeah, I really like it.
Do you mind if I ask you real quick, what was the biggest set you owned from the Kingdoms line?
I think it was the blacksmith attack.
See, I find, and Aidan, I'm sure you want to talk about Kingdoms, but real quick, I love that. I feel like you can signify a really good Lego theme by most of us as kids never got to get the really large sets of the theme. Like, I know as a kid, for me, it was only Christmas when I got those sets, and it was only for like top tier themes. But I feel like it signifies a really good theme that if you can only have the really small sets but still really have a good time, that shows off that the Lego designers did their job perfectly.
Dang. Yeah, I never even thought of that, but I guess talking about like my last 3 themes, I haven't had any sets or even a couple sets from it, and they have been the small ones, yeah.
So I actually have a very different experience than you when it comes to Kingdoms. So I didn't even know the theme existed when I was a kid. That's how like blind I was to it. I had Fantasy Era Castle. I had 2 of the smaller sets, and I thought those were awesome. But around 2013, I kind of like I never had like a full Lego Dark Age. I'd like not really be into it for like 6 months, and I think one of mine was like when Kingdoms was like big, or I was just too focused on Star Wars back then to pay attention to anything. But I started working at a Bricks and Minifigs in Phoenix 2 years ago, and the first 2 sets that they gave me to like certify that all the pieces were there was the blacksmith attack and one of the outpost sets. And I remember, like you already brought it up, but the blacksmith attack, when I was putting it together, I saw the wheel spun, and then that made the blacksmith hammer like do the hammer. I don't know castle terms. It does the hammer thing. Smith, right? I think that's it. Okay, yeah. And I was like, this is actually really cool. And flash forward 2 years later to like a couple months ago, I was on Craigslist, and I was literally just looking, like trying to find Lego to flip because I needed money because I'm a broke college student. And I saw that somebody had the Escape from the Dragon's Prison set, which was initially $20 to $30 when it was out, but now goes for around 170 used because it has the Green Dragon Knight's horse barding, which is like $70, and there's a knight figure in that set that's like $80, which is insane to me. But anyways, I got that, I got the blacksmith, and I got the outpost. And I built and like make sure all the pieces were there, and I decided I was like, these are too cool. I'm keeping these. Like it's like the most well-designed castle figures. I think like the modern ones are really cool, but I just love the color scheme of it all. And like you said with the village side of it, like the village side is the cool part to castle to me, which is like kind of weird, but like it creates more of a context and an atmosphere for this castle theme. And like the box art is just so good. It's some of my favorite box art with like the green rolling hills in the background. Like just the world of Kingdoms is a world that I would really like to build more of and actually even plan to for Brick Fair coming up.
One of my favorite sets from the Kingdoms line is the Outpost Attack, which was, and the reason I love it is, as a kid I only owned one Kingdom set. It was actually like my second Lego set post Dark Age, and it was the Prison Carriage Rescue. And anyways, I just love the Outpost Attack because it was a $20 set, which just, let's just, in modern terms, probably around $30. But just for that $30, you got like a little sliver of a castle, which I just really appreciate as a great cheap alternative to getting the $100 castle or the $60, bad guy outpost or something. It was just a great cheap alternative to get a piece of structure that you could have your guys be on an outpost at. And I just always liked that set.
Oh yeah, that's a great set. Like, I was fully planning on selling that set, and I built it. Honestly, it's the most fun to build out of all the ones I got. It's a really fun building experience, and there's a ton of play features with it that you wouldn't even think of until you actually build it. So I think it's you now, Brendan, for your number 3.
Okay, number 3. Number 3, I have the Batman line from 2006 to 2008. This is the original DC superheroes lineup. Do you guys know the one I'm talking about? Like the Batcave and all that?
Yeah, my brother's obsessed with this one, so I know this one. I know this one very well.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I didn't own a single set of this line until 2022. So I guess you could say it's nostalgia, maybe, but I think objectively the 2006 wave of Batman sets are borderline perfect. Obviously, most people are going to know these sets from the Forest Fire 101 videos from like 2010s. And that definitely has something to do with it. But these sets are just great. They had the dark aesthetic of Batman. They had great accessories. They had guns. They had bad guys. Like, I really like the 2012 Batman sets because those are the ones I literally grew up with and bought. But there's no world where those 2012 ones are better than the 06 to 08 ones. I don't know how much more to say on it. I think the 06 Batcave is objectively a perfect set. I don't think you could make it better if you tried. So, instead of gloating about it a ton, I want to hear your guys' thoughts.
Well, you know who actually likes those sets?
Who?
Jeff Bezos.
What?
Wait, what?
He's a fan of that theme.
You're pulling our leg. What do you mean?
No, I'm not. I'm being serious.
How? What do you know, Jeff Bezos?
No. I've been told by people who do know him that he's got a whole collection of that.
Who do you know that
line.
knows Jeff Bezos?
Can he give us money?
Yeah, can you drop us some lore here?
Nah, I'm good.
All right. Well, I guess we'll take your word for it. Josh is not a lying man, so I guess I believe him.
I'm trying to find something online right now. I'm trying to.
I'm trying to. Aidan, your thoughts on Lego Batman 1?
So my brother grew up obsessed with Batman, not as much as he was as a kid today, but still likes it a lot. And like we played the Lego Batman game, so I associate those sets with the first Lego Batman game a lot. I didn't watch Forest Fire 101 growing up as a kid, and after watching it now that I'm older, holy cow, it's crazy that like 8-year-olds were watching that stuff.
Oh, it was so bad for us.
Oh my gosh.
Like, the amount of... Yeah, no. It also has not aged well. Like, he would get so canceled for saying any of that nowadays.
Oh, 100%. But I actually think I prefer the 2012 Batman wave, which, like, the Batcave from 2006 is 100% better and knocks every single 2012 Batman set out of the park. But other than that, like, I don't know. I just like 2006 Batman has some pretty lackluster builds sometimes. Like, the Catwoman set is, like, very mid. I like the 2012 one a lot more. But I think it's a great aesthetic, like you were talking about. And you said in our last episode that you don't like the CGI box art for it. I think it actually looks so cool. I really like the box art for that theme. But yeah, it's like, I've always loved Batman as one of the licensed themes because Lego's not trying to draw directly from a show. They're like creating almost their own version of Batman. And like we saw that with even the Lego Batman movie. So I think Lego Batman, with the way that it's been handled, is the closest we get to a licensed theme being treated as an original theme when it comes to storytelling and stuff like that. So I've always really
Sure. No, that's a
appreciated
good point.
Batman for that.
No, that's a great point. Hey, Josh, did you contact your friend Jeff Bezos yet? You get him get him a text?
No.
All right. So Aiden, I guess you're next. What is your third pick?
So while Josh is texting Jeff Bezos, I'll go ahead and talk about power miners
Sorry.
for a little bit.
Oh.
I grew up with power miners, but I, like you talked about earlier, I only had the smallest set of the wave, the little like bicycle one. It was weird. It was such a weird set. But I remember looking at all of the other builds in the magazines and thinking they're so cool. And like, I know that people are like Rock Raider stands and like they talk about how it looks like a Fisher Price toy, so it's bad. And like it totally does, but I love the lime and the orange color scheme. I think it works so well. And like the rock monsters are like such a fun and unique like concept and like mold. Like whenever I talk to like people my age that just like played with Lego as a kid, like those are like some of like their favorite figures, and like whenever they just come down into my Lego room, like those are the ones that they gravitate towards because they're just such a fun concept. But also like the vehicles are done so well. Like I'm typically more of a playset guy, which you've probably already noticed from my 4, my 5, and I guess my number 2 Lego theme. But the vehicles are just so much fun. The crystal sweeper actually like picks up crystals when you like roll over them, and that's so cool to me. Like you launch the rock monsters like into like containers and stuff. Like it's just such a fun theme, and like it's one that I would honestly like. I don't tend to collect as trying to get every single Lego set from a theme, but this is one where I think it would actually be really fun. And this is a theme that I also like because like if I collect all of this and pass it on down to my kids, not everything's worth $100. Like this is meant to be played with by kids, and they can just have so much fun with it.
I was tempted to put power miners onto my theme, like onto my top 5 list. I didn't, just because I don't think I had many of the sets. My one claim to nostalgia for it is I used to live in the suburbs in Virginia, like where our houses were pretty close together, and my next door neighbor and we shared a window, and we actually ran like a clothesline with a pulley from my window to his window, and we would trade Lego and Pokemon cards and stuff like that. And I remember one of the things that I got from that trade was the little green rock monster one, and I think I still have it somewhere in my collection. But I agree, those sets they're so imaginative, they're creative, the functionality works, the color scheme is eye-catching, and they're just fun. I think it's a great it's a great theme. It's a nice pick.
Oh, 100%. I like how Josh just keeps dropping crazy lore on us.
I've
though.
known you for
Just like,
3
yeah.
years, and you're dropping lore that I have never heard of in that time.
Yeah. This is why we had you as a guest.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Power Miners is awesome. I didn't like it as a kid, ironically enough. I liked the monsters, but like as a kid I thought it was a stupid gimmick, and I was a snobby little kid. I guess I'm still like that. But anyways, I love Power Miners now. I 100% agree with both of you. It's such a fun, imaginative, playful theme that doesn't take itself too seriously, and I just view it as a classic. It's just a classic. Like, even though I didn't like it as a kid, I still have nostalgia for it, and I really wish Lego would do stuff like that nowadays.
All right, Josh, if you want to go ahead and do your number 2 now. We're getting to the really good themes now, and you can start us off.
Talk about my number 2. Dang, man. All right, I think I'm gonna go with my number 2 is Pirates 2.
Just to be clear, Pirates 2 is what years?
Pirates 2 is 2009, 2010.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So the reason this is my number 2 spot, I'm gonna drop some more lore for you guys. So I was a homeschooled kid, which is probably the reason I wasn't allowed to watch SpongeBob.
Valid.
And my parents did this thing to get me to read. I hated reading. I still do. I don't hate it. I just don't do it. I don't like it. To do this thing, it's basically a program where I would read a book, or I would read, a portion of a book, and I'd have to log it in this app that my parents had access to, or this website that my parents had access to. And then from that, they would give me points, and based off the amount of points, my parents could reward me basically for reading. Loot Island, set 6241. It's got a raised kind of sandy base. It's got a crocodile. It's got the boat. It's got a skull. It's got a catapult. It's got a golden treasure chest. That set was on that website for one of those prizes that I could get. Right? I read like no other to try and get that set. And eventually, I went over to my grandma's house after I had completed everything, and that's where my parents gifted it to me. So I got Loot Island, and it's the coolest. It was the coolest set as a kid. I played and replayed and rebuilt that set so many times. That's a set I'd love to get sealed again, so I could relive that experience. But man, it's just such a good theme all around. I mean, you have the goofy pirates with their rafts. Then you also have the soldiers, and then you have the more tough pirates with the whole Brickbeard's bounty and all that. And kind of the soldiers fort is kind of a remake of the El Dorado fort. And then you even have a massive Ultimate Collector Series style Imperial flagship. My brother wanted that one. None of us ever got it, and I think they're remaking it sometime this or next year, which I'm excited for. But the whole theme is just fantastic. I don't know if you guys have thoughts on it.
No, Pirates 2, so specifically Loot Island, Josh, I rebought that set a few years ago. It's not my top 5 favorite sets, but it's a set I have so much nostalgia for. I got that set when I was 7 years old at Panama City Beach on a vacation. It was still really early on into my love for Lego. And earlier that vacation, I had already gotten Anakin Starfighter, which was a big deal because those were bigger sets to me as a kid. Because as a kid, a normal set is a $10 battle pack. A big set is $20 legitimate build that you play with. And for some reason, my parents also allowed me to get one other set, and I saw the Pirate Island. We were near the beach. It just the theming was so perfect, and that set is such a great set. You can have so much fun with just that one build for so many hours. And like I said, it was on my honorable mentions, but that 2009 Pirates theme is just so good. So good. There were so many good sets with that theme.
Yeah, I also, as a kid, I was too Star Wars brained to actually put any money towards it, but I really liked the Pirates theme as a kid, and specifically the 6242 Soldiers Fort, um, the one with like the mostly white fort and like the jail cell, and I think that's Brickbeard, if I'm not wrong, in the rowboat. But the design of these sets and like old Lego blocks are like I'll repeat this over and over again, like was just so good, and it just drew me right into the set. And I also was like obsessed with crocodiles, and almost every single one of these sets had a crocodile. But it's a theme that I would also probably put in my honorable mentions, and I don't know, I just the aesthetic of it and the design team just really did a great job on it, and it's my favorite pirate theme 100% out of all the ones that they've done as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and give my number 2 answer here. It's, I mean, anyone that listens to this podcast no doubt likes this theme, but Lego Star Wars. And that's very broad, so I'm going to break it down a little bit more. More specifically, Lego Star Wars from 99 to about 2010. I don't feel like I need to say much on this theme. It's a good theme. I mean, every single one of us in this call are gonna agree with that. Great. I love the Clone Wars sets. I love the Revenge of the Sith sets. I love the old Attack of the Clones sets. It's a great theme. You know, I really don't know what else to say about it, to be completely honest.
So I've actually talked with Josh about Star Wars, and I think we're gonna be a little similar on our opinions on this. But Josh, I want you to go first.
So, Lego Star Wars and Lego City were the first themes that I actually started buying. Like when I got a job, I started making money. It was City, but mostly Star Wars, and I had all the sets as they came out. Probably starting around 2015, and then I even collected some of the older ones. But it's a great theme. I really like the theme. I think because there's so much of it, it's hard for me to like it. There's a few sets that come out every year. There's a few sets in the past that have come out that I'd be like, oh, that'd be cool to have. But as a theme, it's probably not even in my top 10, if I'm being honest, just because there's so much. I think there's so much controversy and negativity toward it. There's so many like bold opinions, whether that's, the stupid helmet hole thing, or if you're anti stickers, or the sets are too expensive, which they are. Or, I think there's too much drama. There's too many sets, and I just don't care enough to get, that into it at this stage.
Well,
of my
that's
life.
why I was trying to be more specific with the first 10 years of Lego Star Wars rather than
Yeah,
modern.
which I agree with. I think there's definitely like a golden age of Lego Star Wars, and yeah, I think I agree with you there.
So for me, like as a little kid, I would have told you, oh, Star Wars is my favorite theme. But as I've gotten older, Brendan, I agree with you. I like that era of Lego Star Wars the most. Like the only Star Wars that I've kind of decided on that I really want to try to collect is I want to get the whole 1999 wave, because that's just cool to me, and I like old looking Lego Star Wars back when they looked like Lego sets and not scale models. But I think honestly, it's kind of the community perception of it and how much overboard it's gone recently, like on the community and on Lego side. Like we get so many Lego Star Wars sets now, it's ridiculous. But I feel like the philosophy behind collecting Lego Star Wars is always, I don't have enough, and there's just so much of it, and I don't know, like it's all about how accurate is something, how well does this portray the source material, versus like we have, like I have two licensed themes on my list. We'll reveal the last one soon, but like those sets like are very much concerned about play features, being a kid's toy, and like Star Wars has just become, I mean, it's always been like the most collectible franchise that we've seen in the last 50 years. And it's just bled over into Lego in the last few years. And I think that's really soured it on it for me. Like I've been thinking like, what's the point of like me collecting all this Lego? And I'm like, well, I want to give it to my kid one day, but it's really hard to like do that when my Uncle Owen figure is a $90 figure, and just handing that over to them. So I also think
agree.
Yeah.
how expensive it is also kind of turns me off. And it's not a theme that you'll ever have like all of them. Like that's like just not achievable at all. So I think everybody has pockets of Star Wars they like, but like nobody likes Star Wars as a whole is kind of what I've discovered talking to people. So I probably would put it like 9 or 10, but yeah.
Like what you said about having too much of it. So that was the turning point for me, was when they started doing the promotional items, where it was like, oh, you get the one, Hoth diorama. Oh, and then the next year it's like, okay, now you get the Tatooine diorama. Okay, then the next year it's okay, now you can get the Death Star diorama. Once the third diorama set came out, it woke me up, and I was like, I'm spending $300 every 6 months just to get the next promotional item, just so I can have them all. I don't like this set. I don't want this set. I'd have no need for this set. I'm only getting it so that I can get the promotional item. And that was the point that I was like, this is stupid. I need to stop. And I sold all my Star Wars Lego.
That's great. Really? Wow.
Yeah. I kept, I kept like my UCS Slave One, and a couple minifigures that were like especially nostalgic to me. But no, that was the year that I sold all my figures to Ryan. I started offloading the sets. I just didn't care anymore because it was so much of a consumerism and less of an enjoyment.
No,
thing.
I think you guys both make extremely valid points, and I mean, Aidan definitely knows I'm not a fan of most modern day Star Wars, like at all. Again, want to be very specific. When I say Star Wars, I'm, with all intents and purposes, meaning 2009 to 2010. I do like, not that I dislike some of the sets. Like 2015 is the hard cutoff. Anything past 2015, I really don't care. But I think all you guys make very valid points about why that wouldn't be in your top 5, and I agree with most of them. But looking at it just from like a sets, especially from my childhood and nostalgia and stuff, I can never dismiss like what Star Wars did to me, like on the Lego scale. It carried me so much to where I am now, like on my love for the product. But all right, then we can just loop it back around to Josh. Josh, what is your number 1 pick?
All right. I have a hunch that our number 1 picks are all the same.
I do too.
Yeah, I kind of do too.
I'm just gonna say my number 1 pick, and you guys can just say same. But it's gonna have to be Indiana Jones.
Same.
Yeah, same.
All right, so let's get into the weeds then. Now, obviously that wasn't planned. I think that's probably why, we're as close of friends as we are, just because we do like similar stuff like that. But so Lego Indiana Jones, what it means for me, when I was a kid, my first Indiana Jones set was the Jungle Cutter from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It phenomenal. I mean, you pushed it forward and the blades spun and you could chop the trees down, and it had Indiana Jones has a bazooka. There's brain eating ants. Like, it's such a cool, gruesome set. I didn't even watch Indiana Jones at that point because I was like 7 years old. Especially Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, that'd be way too much for a 7-year-old. I don't know why my parents got it for me. It was probably a last resort sort of thing, or maybe I liked it in the catalog because it had big saw blades or something. But I got it. It was a huge hit with me. And the other thing, the main thing, the reason why this theme is so nostalgic and I like it so much, not only are the sets great, not only are the sets accurate but fun, but there was the Lego game on Lego.com.
Oh, you mean the one with the boulder?
That the boulder is chasing Indy. He had to run. You had to like have him whip the spiders. You had to collect the coins. Holy cow, that game is fun. That game is like the most nostalgic Lego thing I think ever for me.
No, 100%. That I remember that game too, Josh. I used to really like it. Aiden, I'll let you go next about your love for the theme because I don't want to take up too much time.
Oh no, you're fine. This goes so much beyond just the sets themselves for me. Like, I have like the most fantastic memories like because of this theme. Like, I grew up playing Lego Indiana Jones, the second video game with my aunt, and like those are great memories. I mean, our friend group is built upon watching the Indiana Jones movies at Break Fair 2021 and like building all of the Raiders of the Lost Ark sets. Like that alone can put it in number one for me. And like last year we did the Indiana Jones collab, which you can check out on Beyond the Brick, little plug. And like that was just so much fun and just a blast. And like I played the first Lego Indiana Jones this past year in college with one of my friends, and we'd stay up till like 3 a.m. Playing, and like I could like go on and on about all the memories I have with this theme, and like how I'd like talk about it with like my aunt and my uncle. And like I like the most wanted set for me as a kid was the Boulder Escape set from the 2008 one, not the new one obviously. And I finally got it. Oh, it's a great set. It's probably my favorite set of all time. And I finally have it, and my brother also got it, and we're going to build it soon. And that's just going to be a great experience to add on to all of these wonderful experiences. So I don't think anything will ever knock this off number one, no matter what happens. But, I mean, the sets as they are just fantastic. Like, I'm trying to complete my collection of having every Indiana Jones sets, and it's like one of the few themes I think I will ever try to do that with. And I know that you're in the same boat, Brendan. But like, I don't know. It's just so personal to me. And I don't know, it's the theme that brings me the most like joy, just like looking at it or like building for it. So yeah.
So I'm probably going to go on a tangent here and just talk a lot, but obviously this theme means a lot to me as well. Obviously to all of us because it's our number one choice, which is really funny. You know, this theme as a kid is what I liked, and I had some sets from it, and I really did enjoy it, but it wouldn't have been on my top 5 for most of my life. Like, I really liked the sets as a kid, but, you know, they were just like the SpongeBob sets in the same sense that I was just like, you know, had a lot of fun playing with them. And I think it changed. There's a few changing moments that really just elevated this license to me. The first one is when I officially like watched the indie movies as a late teenager, and I had seen them previously, but like I had sat down and like really could comprehend what these films were about. And I love all 5 of them at the time 4, and that was the big first punch into me loving it, because I just love the movies. I love adventure. I love, you know, the shootouts, but it's not overly, I mean, it's violent, but it's not overly torturous, gruesome. It's kind of more cartoony in that sense. And ride that really good PG-13 rating. So I love that. I love Indiana Jones as a character. He's so cool. So that was the first thing. But realistically, like what happened is I go to Break Fair 2021. In my mind, I definitely knew, you know, I liked Indiana Jones at this point a good bit, and I didn't own any of the sets currently. And this is my first year at a convention, and I go to a vendor, I find the truck chase, I buy it. It's like $80. I bought the Ark of the Covenant as well. Because of me building the truck chase at the Empire Lug booth, I therefore start talking to, I think, Ethan. Ethan's like, oh my god, that set's awesome. And I'm like, yeah. And me and him start talking. We both like Indiana Jones a lot. Then I go, hey, my friend Jay's never seen it. Ethan then goes, well, why don't we watch it at my friend's hotel? Then that leads me to meeting my friends Garrett, a.k.a. Brickphase, Ryan, a.k.a. Lawless Bricks, Josh, Aidan. And basically led me to meeting some of my best friends, like, ever. So I think the sets are objectively really good. I have a video coming out. I think the sets are like literally perfect. I don't think there's a bad Indiana Jones set, but what really carries it is the fact that this theme has led to like legitimate friendships and meeting people that I see eye to eye with, and we agree on stuff. And I just think that it's given me such a rose-tinted view of the theme in a positive way that it'll, like Aiden, it'll never be knocked off that pedestal.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like to all of us, it's just so much more than a Lego theme. Like as corny as that sounds, but yeah.
Although objectively, it's a great theme though.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like objectively, I would still have a top 5.
Yeah, no, I mean, even if I didn't have it, it'd still probably be number one just because the sets. I mean, come on, like let's look at this objectively. The sets are awesome. They're so much fun to play with.
Yeah, I think just like you were saying, Brendan. I mean, there's so much memories that we have with each other, with our with our families, as kids of this theme, that on top of the already fun, already phenomenal sets with great minifigures, it has to be number one.
Yeah, no, 100%. You're nailed it.
So we're going to go ahead and transition into our listener top 5s that were sent in through our Instagram story. Be sure to go follow us on Instagram. It's the same name as the podcast. So the first one is from the Squidman YT, which I don't know if this is in order, but it goes Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Space Police 3, which we haven't talked about yet, Harry Potter, and Atlantis. So what is your guys' initial thoughts on that top 5?
Space Police and Atlantis were actually gonna be like they were pretty high contenders. I think that's the golden age of Lego for me, is like that late 2000s, that 2008 to 2012 I think is like the golden era of Lego for me, and both of those themes fit right inside there. So I'm not surprised that they're that guy's top 5.
I think Harry Potter's one we didn't talk about at all, and I'm sure we have our reasons, but I do think Harry Potter is it's starting to become like a Star Wars territory theme, but the classic Harry Potter sets are great, and I can understand why someone would love that theme. And Atlantis, man, Atlantis had skipped my mind throughout this entire episode. Atlantis was really cool.
Yeah, I grew up with like one Atlantis set, but for me, I always was more of an Aqua Raiders kid over Atlantis, and probably still am. But Atlantis has like so much lore behind it too. Like I'm just waiting for somebody to drop like a whole video on everything. There probably has been one that I just haven't seen yet. But Space Police 3, I've always said is the most overrated Lego theme, other than maybe Star Wars. But even Star Wars, like everybody has stuff. Like Space Police 3, the figures are awesome. Like I will give you that. The figures are awesome. I don't really like a lot of the builds. Like the ships just don't look very good to me. Like the massive one does, but like the smaller sets, I'm not really too drawn by. Like the box art's really cool, and when I look at it on a box, I want it. But like when I see them in person, I'm really not all that blown away personally.
I'm kind of in the middle. I kind of agree with you, Aidan, because like I think I have a lot of nostalgia for Space Police, and I really love the figures. But I will say, like recently, I had gotten some of the sets in hand, and I was kind of like, "Oh, this is underwhelming." Like I thought this would be cooler than what it was. All right, you want to go to another?
Top 5, yep. Next one is from Simeon.27, which is Star Wars Atlantis, Hero Factory City, and either pre-2018 Minecraft or the Lego Movie at number 5. So a repeat of Atlantis, but new is Hero Factory. We kind of talked about City, and then pre-2018 Minecraft or the Lego Movie.
I should say my no Simeon, and he's a little younger than us, so it's interesting seeing like Hero Factory, Minecraft, and the Lego Movie, because that would probably not be on ours. Lego Movie though, pretty good theme.
Yeah, I agree there. I was debating putting Lego Movie on just because the movie was fantastic, and I think the sets were a good representation of the movie. So yeah, I'm not surprised that's on. The one that's shocking to me is Hero Factory. I'm surprised it's not Bionicle. Like Hero Factory is kind of a weird like middle ground there, the transition of the end. So that's the only one I would disagree with. But I mean, to each their own.
So
your thoughts, Aidan?
I've always liked Hero Factory more than Bionicle, which is going to trigger some people. I don't know. Like I look at it, and without context, like I can kind of understand what each character is in Hero Factory and what it's doing, like without watching the Bionicle show. And I always just like, I don't know, I just like the look of them a lot better than Bionicle. And maybe if I got into Bionicle lore, I'd like him a lot more. But as far as the Lego movie goes, like I love those sets. Those are fantastic sets. Like the Lego movie 1 and 2 are both movies that fully understand what Lego is about and combining everything and making your own stuff. And those are sets that you can 100% take apart and rebuild. And it's just so much fun to like be getting like a green ninja in an official set with like Unikitty, I think. Like just mixing in the license
Johnny
figures
Thunder
too also really adds to it. Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
Like it's just a great theme overall. And I would say for the Minecraft one that I think Minecraft honestly has not fallen off. I think if anything it might have gotten better. So I think it's interesting that he put pre-2018 Minecraft, because I look at modern Minecraft sets and like if I'm just like at a friend's house and then we go out and we all just want to like build a Lego set, and I'll just buy like a $10, $20 Minecraft set because it's fun to build. It's so much fun to build, and then you can take it apart and you get really good parts. So, yeah.
I wanna add on one more thing to the whole city thing. When I was talking about the nostalgia, I'm talking about 2009 City. All right, we have things like the crawler crane, we've got the tractor, the combine harvester, the farm, the city corner, the garage, the bulldozer, the wind turbine set. I mean, come on, that has to be golden age of Lego City. I don't know if you guys
I 100%
have any
agree with
thoughts.
that. Although I actually like current day Lego City a lot as well, but that's like what I'm most nostalgic for is the 2009 stuff. All right, you want to do another list? I'm enjoying this. This is fun.
Yeah, it is fun. The next one is from the Mob Lobster 01, or Levi as we know him. So 2 episodes back to back that he's getting featured. But his top 5, in no particular order, according to him, is Star Wars, which we've talked about at length, Vikings, which has not been brought up, and then this next one's really interesting to me, Dino Attack, and then Indiana Jones and Bionicle. So this is a top 5 I would actually like to talk a lot about, because I think there's a lot to talk about in the 3 themes he's added in.
Well, so I mean, like we got the obvious ones like Indy and Star Wars, understandable, but Dino Attack and Vikings, those two, I get the Vikings one. Vikings has some really cool sets. Dino Attack is weird though, because like I barely remember that theme. I ain't even gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm looking up pictures right now to even see what it looks like.
The helicopter set in that was insane. Like the color scheme of the tan and dark red for all the sets. My brother had the 7474, the Urban Adventure versus Raptor set. So I would play with that one. But it's such a weird theme. I can see why he likes it, but I don't know. It's definitely a unique pick.
It has such like a post-apocalyptic feel to it. Like the box design looks like the dinosaurs have like taken over the city. Like it's so goofy. I kind of like it.
Yeah, that helicopter looks insane.
It's very 2006. Like that's the best way to put it. It's very like 2005, 2006. Like it's a product of its time.
Yeah, it's really militaristic. I mean, you've got like a Hummer, you've got like an ATV, you've got a attack helicopter, and a weird thing with tank treads. Like, I don't. It's pretty. It's pretty not like Lego to do nowadays.
Speaking of not being like Lego at all today, Vikings, like this theme is so interesting to me because like they really tried to mix Bionicle and system parts, and it really works in some places and it really does not in others. But there's some fantastic sets in this wave. Like that ship is absolutely iconic. I think it's like the Midgard Serpent. Like everybody who's like kind of into Lego has seen that ship before.
I mean that's a great one. I think the giant fortress is cool just because it's a giant freaking fortress. Like I mean, what isn't there to love?
Yeah, it doesn't have a lot of play features is the only thing. Like for how big it is, like it's literally just a wall. Like that's enough with how big it is to an extent. But like there's not much beyond that.
I think this was a really experimental time for Lego. I'm looking specifically at like set 7016, the small Viking boat. And in that set, they literally just take a string and tie it to a Technic brick, like a regular shoelace knot, and then loop it through the mast and then tie it to another Technic brick. Like nowadays, all the ropes, all the strings have studs on them, and actually have to attach it. I love the fact that they just give you string and they're just like, yeah, tie it here and tie it here and call it a day.
Interesting.
So the last theme on the list that we have not talked about is Bionicle, and none of us are experts in it, but what's your guys' take on Bionicle? I'm curious.
I don't care. Stinky.
I don't care either. I think people who like it and who know the lore, more power to you. Like I think it's a really cool theme if you were into it. I have absolutely no nostalgia, no care for it
They're
whatsoever.
stinky. The people that like it stink. I'm keeping that in.
Okay. Anyways, for
what's your opinion on it, Aidan?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm not gonna go as far to say that, as true as it may be, but here's the thing. Bionicle to me is, here's a bulk lot I bought. Oh, there's mass in here. Good. I can sell this for money and make my money back. That is all Bionicle is to me. Like honestly, like, yeah, like.
Oh man.
And like, whenever I walk by the Bionicle tables at cons, without context, it just looks like a heap of a ton of stuff that just, I don't know. They get way too much space at cons. They take up so much, and then everybody's shrunk down too. But that's a whole nother topic.
I think Bionicle is the most nerdy Lego theme.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yes, I 100% agree with that.
And again, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not anything against anyone. It's just that's the most sweaty AFOL nerdy Lego theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
no, 100%.
I mean, like, we're not saying that if you like it, you are 100% that way. That's just like stereotype. But anyways, let's go ahead and just move on from this and go on to our fourth one and final, which is from DMK Mox, which is Star Wars Icons, Ideas, Speed Champions, and then, you guys ready for this? Ultra Agents is the fifth one.
Dang. All right, Dane. Come on now. All right, so I want to talk about this one. Okay, so Star Wars, obviously. Dane is a Star Wars guy. So Icons, Ideas, and Speed Champions. Those are like some of my three favorite themes right now for building wise. I mean, Icons now is like takes over like the modular line. I mean, the Orient Express train set's in there. There's so many good themes. The new Haunted Mansion set. So like I understand that one too. Ideas is the reason I didn't put Ideas in my top is because it's not really a theme. It's in the spirit of a theme. It's kind of just a subset of miscellaneous Lego sets. But I love Ideas. I mean, Ship in a Bottle, the Saturn V, the BTS set, of course, is the best Lego Ideas set that's ever existed.
Oh, I agree.
100%.
100%. Best theme. Or best set ever. In fact,
and then,
all of our viewers should go buy a copy right now.
and then Speed Champions, I think, are the best small sets. Well, they're not even small anymore. They're like $40. But like for building experience wise, I think Speed Champions and Icons are the best. So those three, I'm in agreement, are like top themes, but not for like the idea of this list that we were going through. And then Ultra Agents, I have no opinion of.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at it from like an all-time perspective, this would not be my top 5 at all. But
yeah,
in terms of like what Lego's putting out right now, this is probably pretty close to what I'd be saying. Maybe I'd take out Star Wars.
Yeah,
but,
I'd take out Star Wars as well. But
yeah, Icons, I don't know why I say it like that, but I love the modular buildings. Like, those are so cool to me. I I think trains his house underneath that. I mean, the flowers I think is icons, and every white woman ever loves that theme. And Ideas has given us some of the best sets we've ever got, such as the BTS set and the Tron. We never would have got like a Tron Legacy set, and I love Tron, so I'm happy for that. Like the Back to the Future DeLorean back in the day, the Wall-E, like that one's super awesome. I have that one.
Yeah.
And then for Speed Champions, like I've talked multiple times about my hate for quarter tiles and all the super small detailed pieces. Speed Champions is the one theme where it totally works and is totally understandable to me. So I'd say like modern wise, yeah, these are like some of the better themes we have right now. But honestly, like Ideas and Icons, I don't even know if I consider that a theme because there's not like a ton of consistency across those. Like Icons has black box art, and like that's the one super consistent thing. But I feel like they're kind of catch-alls.
Yeah, Ideas for me, if we're considering it a theme, is the only thing that makes me still have a love for like modern Lego. Borderline. Let me put it that way. The reason I didn't put it on my list is I agree with y'all. I don't think I can really consider Ideas a traditional theme. It's more of just it's an idea, you know? No. It's a great thing. It's let so many up-and-comers get their foot in the door, like people who made the BTS set. But I just feel like it's kind of hard to classify that as a theme. I mean, it is a theme in the sense that you go to lego.com and go on Ideas and there's a list of sets, but you know, like how do you even categorize that? I mean, at one point you have the Saturn V and now you have the Jaws set. Those are two completely different things. So Ultra Agents, yeah, I don't get that one. Let's just put it that way. I do not understand.
Yep. Like, if you're putting one of the Agents themes in, I will almost assumed it would universally be the first Agents theme.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that much about Ultra Agents. And Speed Champions, I'm going to say something crazy. I don't love Speed Champions. I don't hate it, but it's just kind of like, I kind of put it as the epiphany of modern Lego is Speed Champions. It's these like model-esque cars with no play features, and they're just are really nice to look at. And I like them to an extent. Like the James Bond car was cool, but to another point, I'm just kind of like, really? Like, this is what we're releasing now? But that's just...
Yeah, well, see, so, like, I think I agree with you there. The reason I like it is because of the building experience. Like, I wanted to collect all of them. I actually just got rid of a bunch of mine. I'm only keeping the ones that I actually like to look at. But I think it's the fact that you can take square Lego pieces, more or less nowadays, and turn it into really, really, really well-shaped, vehicles. And some of the techniques, again, are just insane. That's why I like it. But I wouldn't argue it's a top 5 theme at all, but it's definitely top 5 building experience, like, category.
Yeah, I mean, Speed Champions, to me, has always been, I'm bringing my 20-year-old male friend along with me to the Lego store, and that's what they're going to buy, because that's what, like, feels the least nerdy thing to buy and the most, like, cool guy thing to buy that's cheap. Like, that's honestly, like, what Speed Champions is. It's to get that, like, 18 to 25-year-old male audience, like, and females, but, like, anytime I, like, go with a friend who's not into Lego, and then, like, we're all getting stuff, that's typically what they're getting.
No. 100%.
So thanks for coming on, Josh. It was a blast as always. Figuring out that Jeff Bezos personally.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course. Where can our listeners find you other than in a Lego store?
Yeah, so I'm just JB Brick Fanatic pretty much everywhere. My YouTube now is Josh Bretz. Instagram JB Brick Fanatic. Pretty much that's me.
All right. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this definitely very different episode of Where Are My Studs. It was very different than any of the other episodes, but I hope still you got enjoyment out of it. Catch us next week. We'll I think it'll be just me and Aidan again. Is that right?
Yes.
Yep, just me and Aidan again. And then the following week, we should have another guest. And then the following week after that, we'll be talking about the greatest LEGO convention of all time, Brick Fair, Virginia. But just remember, if you have any questions, you can DM us or answer the story. We ask them every week. We'll answer them every week on the podcast. And yeah, thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Bye.